Prisons are incredibly complex places, and we have lived through a generation in time in which they've become among the most important of our public institutions. What's going on in them? Who's in them? What's happening in them? What's happening to people who work in them? What do those institutions say about us?
In our field, there's very often a just and understandable preoccupation with public investment. Over the course of my lifetime, we've incarcerated more and more people for longer and longer periods of time, so often for smaller and smaller infractions of the law. And as we have done that, we have made those institutions less hopeful and said to the people within them that your fate and your future are of no concern and no connection to us.
College programs were once common in prisons. That changed in the 1990s when felons became ineligible for financial aid known as Pell Grants.
Even in 1994, when the Omnibus Crime Bill took Pell Grant eligibility away from prisoners, we knew that the best strategy available to make sure people don't come back to prison is education, particularly college education.
Possible that he's taken on too much as far as... I didn't even know Bard was here, but once I got here and they told me Bard was here, and I realized that that was something I needed, I tried out for it. I mean, society's given up on me. All they want is to keep me locked up and never give me a chance to go home. And that's not what Bard believes.
I think the liberal arts are actually the perfect place to start. To paraphrase W.B. Du Bois, the goal of education is not to turn a man into a bricklayer, it's actually to turn a bricklayer into a full man. And so it's a full education. It's an education that actually exposes you to a whole world of ideas. I think we would be making a dreadful mistake if we thought that people who are incarcerated only needed vocational training.
We have something that we can offer which will make a huge difference to the lives of these prisoners, to the prisons in which they live, and to their future possibilities. And that goes to the heart of what we know how to do best, which is teach.
Constant begins writing this essay around the time of the final defeat of Napoleon.
If what you want is for people to move to a place of transformation, you can't start by saying, well, here's the strike against you, that we're always going to keep at the back of our minds. The most important thing is that we cultivate an environment where the students can come and be students, where their value is as participants in a class only.
When I'm in a classroom, I'm not affected by my current situation. Throughout the prison system, we're looked at as if we're not even human. When we come into the classroom, we're individual college students as if we are on Bard's campus. And we have to give our all. Yes, it's great.
You have to remember that our students will always, in every walk of life, be held to a higher standard whenever they apply for a job, whenever they apply to transfer to another academic institution.
So it's very hard to get in. They each take this essay test, which is intimidating. I would be terrified. We pick about 60 for personal interviews. 2 of us interview each one of those 60 people, and out of that we make the very difficult decision of which 15 or so to admit.
You have something of a form close to the MX.
BPI is very demanding, and the expectations are extremely high. I mean, I remember my first class. I could not get an A from this woman, and by the end of the class I got an A, and I got an A+ on the last paper and an A in the class. But, I had to really work hard for it.
At this point in my life, how I performed in the program, I thought that was how I would measure myself as a human being. And that brought out a tenacity in me to just go harder, study harder.
In the very first class I taught, one of the students in the class was writing his senior project, or I guess had just finished it, and he brought it in for me to read. And I was blown away. The last senior thesis I had worked with was at Harvard. And here was a guy in BPI writing a senior thesis that was every bit as good as an honors thesis at Harvard. Now, starting where that person had started and ending up with that product was just remarkable.
We say to them from the very first day, we are only as good as you. So for the first time, perhaps, in many of their lives, an institution of some prestige, an institution of some significant cultural capital, has said to them, we see ourselves in you, and we see our future in your future.
Scene 1. Setting, a prison door. Music is blaring from a radio. All the characters are in their individual cubes, involved in some activity.
Hey, yo, Ratchet. Yo, Ratchet. Turn that radio down. Here comes Mitz with the mail.
Yo, Rara, you know LA lost that game last night. You owe me 4 cartons now.
Playwriting is power. For a person who's basically reduced to a number, you know, you wear a green uniform, you don't have too many outlets where you can express yourself. And playwriting to me became freedom. When you reach a college level, that's when you really start getting knowledge of your surroundings, of yourself. You start questioning politics, other religions, other cultures, other societies. And these are things like you could bring back to the neighborhoods where we're from.
Growing up in Brownsville, I always felt like I would end up in prison because I didn't feel like I had many options. I'm now working as a case manager, working with 16 to 24-year-olds with some criminal justice system involvement within the last 12 months. People don't expect a lot from these kids, and if people actually got to know them, they would prove almost everything wrong. You know, they aren't lazy kids. They want to work. They're eager to work. They have dreams that they want to be accountants and architects, and it brings me a lot of pleasure to see them achieve their goals.
How are you today?
How about you?
Fine, thank you. I first started working with Growing My Seed as a stepping stone towards my establishing a career in environmentalism. We're collecting food scraps for compost, trying to encourage residents to reduce the amount of unnecessary waste that goes into the landfill, particularly organic waste. I volunteer here and other environmental organizations as a way to extend the garden project that I started in Woodburn. I've been inspired to build a community garden to help formerly incarcerated people enter the environmental field, training them while they're still incarcerated. The garden project has been going on since 2009, so I'm really proud that the guys continued after I was released. Last night I received an email that I've been accepted into NYU's Master in Urban Planning program, so it was really great news and really excited about that, and I'm looking forward to participating and challenging myself and working towards becoming a professional.
Being good at academic work meant that you could be an academic, and I never really had any model for that, you know? My father didn't go to college, my mother didn't go to college. So the professors really were models for what I could aspire to be. You know, I made my incarceration history a part of my application for grad school, and I tried to frame it that way because I do believe it's true. In ethnography, there's a phrase, you go native. You know, you try to get into the lifestyle of whoever you're studying. I've been there, you know, and my history gives me a unique perspective to hopefully influence policy and move towards more socially just policies. And that's a big part of why I'm drawn to the work I've been doing and the work I want to do.
I think it's important that we ask ourselves what this means. What does it mean when Erica Mateo returns to Brownsville, Brooklyn? What does it mean when Manny Boris is making artwork at the Public Theater? And as our alumni go to graduate schools and move on in business and in not-for-profits and in the arena of public health? What does it mean when we can find so much enthusiasm for ideas and academic accomplishment? Extraordinary talent can be found in the most unconventional places if we as educators treat people with dignity.
I have a question for you. Yes.
How would you describe such a society?
What I'm saying, like, because it has a caste system, was it...
The importance of BPI to me is that this is a project that actually shows how we can succeed and how we can build success out of the policy failures of mass incarceration that have actually put us in the position we're in today. There's a road out of this, but we actually have to have the courage to take it.
So while there's lots more to be done in New York, nationally, we felt the most impactful thing we could do would be to empower other educational communities to take this on themselves. So we've partnered with Wesleyan University in Connecticut, Grinnell College in Iowa, Goucher College in Maryland, and we want their prison projects to reflect their communities and their values as deeply as we hope we reflect Bart's.
A college education does not get us better treatment in prison, nor does it guarantee release on parole. The work is hard, the hours are long, and there aren't many immediate rewards. However, I wanted to be a better person, and as I stand here before you today, I believe it has made me a better person. What really motivated me was my kids, because I started wondering, what am I gonna do for them? What kind of example am I gonna be for them? He's been telling me all day, it's like I'm famous, And I mean, that's a feeling that nothing in the world could take away from me, It's a feeling I can't even describe because it makes me feel so good.
The irony is that the best students we have, bar none, are our undergraduates who are in prison. That the men and women who've suffered ostracism and incarceration are the most curious, disciplined, and most original and hardworking students. When we look at those students and experience them in the classroom, the gift is not ours to the prisoners, it's their gift to us.
As I understand it, our correction system culminates with a bus ticket. Here's what you have when you leave the door. Here's a bus ticket, which is frankly a bus ticket to recidivism. It's a bus ticket back, okay? When the system instead culminates in college, that's gonna be your bridge. It changes the meaning of the whole system.